Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Everquest Old School. Now, on this episode, we're still doing Neriak, but we're going to be on the third part of it, which is Neriak's third gate. It's aptly named because you can't get here without going through two other parts of the zone. There's no way to bypass it and come into here easier. As you can see, it's a very nice looking zone. They spent some time on it. A lot of this stuff, though, unfortunately, a lot of people never really got to see because, one, it's an evil zone, and I would say probably about 80 to 85% of the game is tilted towards the good side. It wasn't like Everquest 2 where there's like a lot of neutral areas and you have, you know, an equal balance of good and bad and everybody's pretty much welcomed everywhere. Definitely not like that. In this one, evil was basically saying you want the harder path to go. You want a challenge more than anything else because it's not very friendly towards evil players, and it's very easy to mess up your faction even after that and make it even harder on you. This is going to get confusing with all these stairs. These guys don't sell anything. Let's go over here to this side. And the very first time I played a Dark Elf Shadow Knight. That was my very first character in this game, called Villa, or V-I-L-A, which was not a... I didn't have a handle at the time. A lot of people nowadays have these nicknames that they've had forever, and when you play a video game, you try to use the same one, although most of the time you'll find if you come to the game late, it's already taken. Somebody else has already used it. I didn't have that. None of us really had that at the time. It wasn't something that was popular to have, you know, unless you were like a hacker, which was still in its infancy when we were really playing these games. But I got that one simply because they had a generator, a computer name generator right there on your character creation screen, and I remember clicking on it several times and getting something that was something like villain or something, and I backspaced a few letters and just said, okay, give me that name. I just want to get in and try the game out. I'm not even sure if I'll keep this class. I don't know anything about it. It just sounded kind of cool, you know, Shadow Knight and Dark Elf. You know, if I'm going to be a Shadow Knight, I'm going to be something evil because that's what it should be. And then I ended up loving the character. He was difficult to play, but I didn't realize he was difficult because I didn't know anything else. It was the very first character, so I just figured this was the way the game was. You know, and you kind of had to tiptoe basically around everywhere. And it was some time before I was even... let's see what this guy has. It was some time before I was even outside of the town area, the little village that they start you in, that you can go outside and hunt the little tiny tidbits, little creatures like spiders and stuff. So it wasn't until around, I think, level 15 or 20 that I really got my first dose of, oh yeah, this kind of sucks that I can't go into a lot of the towns that my friends can go into. They can go pretty much anywhere they want. You know, it was just, like, you can't go into Freeport. You get attacked by going in there, and a lot of your friends would be like, yeah, just take the boat from Freeport and go over. I'm like, I can't go into Freeport. How am I supposed to do that, you know? And so you have to go, like, the long way around to try to get there, or try to sneak through Freeport by swimming in the water and dodging the guards, which was interesting. It gave a sense of danger, a sense of urgency to the game. I mean, it wasn't all straightforward. It wasn't just, you know, click on the NPC and teleport yourself over to the zone and everybody meets up and it goes off hunting. This one required some thinking, some planning ahead of time. You knew that if you needed to show up to a raid, to a zone that you've never been to before, you needed to get there or try to get on a couple hours beforehand and make your way over there, simply for the fact that it may take you a while, especially the first couple of times. You may die and then have to go back and get your body, and anybody who's ever done a corpse retrieval knows that if you die, it just really, really sucks, because then you don't have any armor. You know, you're out of armor, and if you ever get hit again, you just die so easily again, and that makes you have to run all the way back. So in the second one, they really got rid of corpse retrievals altogether, because so many people complained about it just eating up so much of their time. But I always thought that, you know, because at the time I always complained about it too, and I was happy they were going to get rid of it. And then once they did, I saw that it actually impacted the game rather negatively in the fact that, is that a tunnel down there? No. That the course retrievals tended to bring people together. I think people, for the most part, even playing a social game like this, an MMO, will tend to stick to themselves if allowed, you know? And so forcing people to interact with each other out of necessity, you know, there's some days where I just get on and I don't really want to deal with anybody. I just want to kind of go off and hunt and kill some creatures and just relax for a little while. But if you die and you can't get back to your body, you are forced to either just quit the game because there's not much more you can do without your armor again, you know, or without a backup set of armor, and you're not gonna, even if you could get another set, you don't want to because you spent all that time, you know, getting that armor, and that was really good armor. So you'd be more than likely to start asking other players, or, you know, if it came down to it, you may even beg other players. I've seen people do, if their body is stuck on or underneath a dragon or something like that, and they just, you need a huge amount of people to get that back, you know? But you'd meet some really good people who'd go out of their way to help you out, even though they have no clue who you are. They never met you before, and they're taking time out of their day that they could be spending playing the game and leveling up and doing all sorts of things that they, you know, originally got on to do to help you out. And some of the times they die, and they'd still come over there again and again and again to help you out. And these are for druids. Wizards. There you go. And that's how really good friendships started. You know these people for life. I know a lot of people who got married because of the people they met in the game. A lot of people who developed friendships, opened businesses together because of the friendships they made in the game. You know, and I think a lot of those wouldn't have happened if people weren't somehow. You know, I hate to use the word forced because you're not forced into doing it, but you are kind of guided into that direction by circumstances that they put into the game to kind of push you to that direction. And the sound is really nice too, and they spent some time on that. So I just did a whole circle there. Now, we went down this direction, and you can see right there's another door where you can go back this way. But if you come around the side, you see, oh, there's a little hidden door over here. And this will lead you actually to the Necromancer Guild, which is where I turned in that Thex Mallet. Also, where you start, your starting quest will need to become over here to turn in, which I did on an earlier video. If you happen to be a Necromancer and you get that little note, and you're like, where am I supposed to go, you know? I'm going to walk around this to show you that there's nothing there, but they did spend the effort to put it all there. I mean, it's not like it's half a building into the wall. You know, they spent the time knowing that most people would probably never see it. And I just think games nowadays, they're missing this scope, the scope of just so huge. People's attention spans have really diminished, and so has mine. I mean, I'll admit it that when I was younger, I could play games for a lot longer at a time in a stretch than I can now. But, you know, it's just the way things are. I fell down. That sucks. What I get for strafing around. Yeah, the part that's kind of messed up is you have to click on those doors to open them up, but if the doors are closed, the enemy doesn't have to click on them to open them. If the door's locked, they can still get through. They don't have to worry about those kind of obstacles basically getting in their way. Also, in Lower Guck, I remember there was one where I would pull from the light side, you know, when I was on the dark side, the dead side, the undead side. And there was a trap that you had to jump over, a false floor that wasn't really there. And this is your trainer over here. You can come over here and put points into your thing if it's not leveling as fast as you want. And it used to be that you had to put the very first point into something before you could gain other points into it. Like meditation, you had to come over here, I think at level like 13 or something, and put points into it, so that you no longer had to sit there and look at your spell book while you were meditating. train there too if you're Necromancer. And that was another thing, is it was a huge milestone in a person's let's see, bone walk. I think that might actually be one of mine. Yeah, Necromancer level 8. I'll go ahead and buy that while we're here. Necromancer level 4. There we go, Necromancer level 1. Enduring cold. Not mine at all. Fear. Yeah, Necromancer. Necromancer level 1. Although I'm probably not going to use that right now, but later on, at better or higher levels, you definitely will use invisibility versus undead. I'm going through all my platinum that I just got here. Locate corpse. This is the one I was talking about, where you can locate somebody else's corpse if they lose it. Now, it doesn't summon it to you, but it does, you know, push you into the right direction so that you can find out where it went. Sense the undead is a nice spell if you run out of bone chips. That one's too expensive. Siphon strength. I think I might have already had that one, but I'll go ahead and buy it anyways. So that's nice. A lot of spells that I needed. Some backpack bandages. You can use the skill Bind Wound to heal yourself a very small amount, but it requires bandages every time you click on it. Let's see. I don't think any of these are mine. They're just higher levels, I guess. Yeah, it'll be a long time before I have to pay for those, thankfully. Those are 25 platinum a piece. And I can train there. This is the person I turned in the Thex Mallet to, and he gave me some sort of sickle, which then I gave to the character who needed it. I think he was working on either his epic or something, or just a regular quest. I didn't ask. He seemed like he was kind of in a hurry, and this character moves pretty slow as it is. I mean, he was a druid or a ranger, so he was booking it with his soul, compared to this guy who has, you know, no speed buff whatsoever. Life tap. I think I already got that one though. Yeah, I'll go through and make sure that I get them all later and show you which ones I have, and well, you guys don't have to sit there and watch it. Although you're probably thinking, oh, that's kind of interesting. I know I do when I watch these videos. I really get into it and feel like, hey, you know, we're playing the game together. I want to see it all. I don't want you to skip over what you would think is boring, because that's one of the things when I played is I actually enjoyed it. I mean, you would think that would be weird, but you spend so much time. You get into a good group and you don't want to leave. Trust me. I mean, it used to take you. When I log on as a cleric, I'd find groups a lot faster than most people, simply because you'd have to have those essentials. You have to have a tank. You have to have a healer, and that's pretty much it. With those basics, you can pretty much make a group out of any other. Let me look at this one. You can pretty much make a group out of any other set of people, but you have to have the tank and you have to have a healer. It doesn't have to necessarily be a cleric. It could be a druid or something along those lines, but it has to be a healer of some sort. And then we're going to the other side. So I'd find groups a lot faster than most people, but there would be days that I would get on and I'd be sitting there for 45, 50, 60 minutes looking for a group and pretty much not find anything. And those days kind of suck because, you know, you may only have like 8 or 9 hours to play before, you know, you're supposed to go into work, because that was the time you were supposed to be used for sleeping, but you decided to play Everquest instead. And, you know, it's just nobody was playing at that exact moment, or nobody was making groups because everybody who was on already had one, or the zone that you picked to look for a group, because you didn't do like a shout out in the entire game. You did a shout out in the zone that you were at. So depending on what expansion was out at the time and what zones were popular, and you could figure that out pretty easy. You knew when you got to a certain level where people were pretty much migrating to and spending their time. That's cool music. Something like from Monkey Island, the Guybrush Threepwood. Should be his theme song right there. Ah, it's already over? Ah, there we go. So it fades every time I go into a shop. That kind of is weird. Ah, it's gone. Jeweler's kit. So this is the guy to come to if you want to be a jeweler. And I made an Druidian jeweler once, and I believe it was Seb. When you're in there hunting, the healer used to always get the. I think this is where I came from. Yeah. The healer used to always get the gems for his payment because he would have to cast. Yeah, I went in there. He would have to cast his HP buff, and he would have two of them. One would be just mana buff, and the other one would actually require a gem, like a Peridot or something, that which costed a fair amount. I think it was like 8 or 9 platinum apiece, and it only lasted for an hour or so. But it increased the hit points by like 5,000 or 6,000, which was a really good amount. It was totally worth it to put on your tank, and some groups actually requested it for everybody, which became really, really expensive, as you can imagine. 6 people, including yourself, with a 5 to 10 platinum gem that only lasted for an hour, and you're in there for 8 hours. You'd go through quite a lot of money, and before long, all the money that you had saved up, you're broke now. So to help with that, they would to offset that, they'd give you the gems that dropped off the creatures, and in Seb, the gems dropped dramatically often. I mean, it was just insane how many gems you got. And so I spent a lot of time in Seb, and at the end of it, I had like 4 backpacks full of gems, which I could sell, but I was making a decent amount of money doing... Ouch. Which way did I go? Here we go. I went up that way. So I could have sold, but I made a decent amount of money doing other things. So I didn't have to, per se, sell them. It was basically just breaking even, though. I mean, I was just not selling them to NBC. Because if you sell them to the NBC, you wouldn't get as much of them, as much money from them, as you would just using them yourself if you were going to go into jewelry, which is exactly what I wanted to do anyway. So I decided just to hold on to them. I'd spend less money in the long run, and then eventually made a Druidite character for the pure sake of doing jewelry. And I did that to save myself money again from having to buy jewelry from other players who were charging, outrageous amounts of money. I mean, serious money for those things. Because it would take you so long to level up. I mean, it was just crazy how long. It's not like these new trade skills like in Everquest 2. And this is where people would actually literally get married in the game. You'd get a GM to show up, and he'd stand up here, and people would sit down on the benches or be standing up, and you'd have the bride and the groom standing there, and they would say their vows, and it was a big ordeal. I mean, it was huge when people got married because you had to petition, and you had to set up the date, and everybody got involved, and it was just really, really fun. A fun time to be there, and into a game that was just really coming together for the very first time to show you that games were not an animal template. I don't even know what these are. Pot sketch. It's almost like these are for cooking utensils or something. That's weird. But yeah, the game was really... It's almost like the door opens or something. There's a secret door back there, maybe. Oh, that's cool. But I don't remember any game before that really brought people together like this. In fact, this was the very first MMO that I ever even heard of for me. There was MUDs out there, the text-based games and stuff, and I'm sure there's probably some online versions of those, maybe not, I don't know. But this one really, really started it. I know a lot of other games like World of Warcraft will get a lot of credit because it was so massive. It caught on not just to the older people like 19 to 30-year-olds that were pretty much primarily playing this one. Little kids started playing that one, the WoW one, which is kind of why I was never really attracted to it as much as I was to this one, for the pure fact that there was just so many little kids on there. And kids, like everybody knows, are kind of jerks. They're kind of stupid. They do things without realizing just how horrible that they make themselves look until later on, when they kind of just hit themselves in the head and be like, oh, I can't believe I acted that way. And we have all been there. In fact, it's not just a trait that's for kids alone. Adults still do the exact same thing. I think I came from this direction. It's very familiar. Not quite sure. It's like a dead end for no reason. Wow, very easy to get twisted and turned in here. Chainmail, cloak, sheets of adamantium. But yeah, it was just, it was something special, this game. It still is to me. It still holds that certain place in my heart that when I look back, I'm like, I spent so many hours playing this game. A good portion of 19 to probably 25 playing this game, more than I probably should have. But I don't regret it at all. I very much enjoyed the friendships that I made in that game. And if I was the type of person who actually kept in touch with people as much as most people do, I probably would still know most of those people. But I'm the kind of guy who makes really good friendships, but I don't remember to make that extra little step that most people instinctively already know. Remember people's birthdays. I very rarely even remember mine. Buy people's gifts, call them on the phone. Somebody calls me and they're my friend, I'll talk to them for hours. But I don't ever remember to call them. So, friendships don't really last very long if only one person is making the effort. And unfortunately, that's kind of the way it is with me. So most of the people I played, I shouldn't say most, all the people I played with, I've lost touch with over the years. So if by weird, unbelievable luck that you're actually watching one of these videos and you're like, oh yeah, I remember Villas, I recognize his voice, I know who that guy is, I remember hunting with him, we were good friends, hit me up. Be happy to catch up with you guys. And I believe that's the entire zone right there, guys. That's... yeah, I went this way already. Yeah. Yep, that's pretty much it. Let's go on here. Very confusing zone. Watching me probably didn't help you that much with learning where to go and how to get there. But it definitely is a trip down memory lane, or a new experience for those of you who never got to come in here at all. Now I'll run back to the zone entrance so that you can see exactly how to get there, because as confused as I am, did I come in here? I actually don't think I came in here. Yep, I think I actually missed this one. Very cool looking building though. I like the dark purples and stuff. I'm not quite sure what the hand is for. I'm sure it has some lore in it somewhere. Everquest has just massive amounts of lore that is written into it. You got backpacks, throwing axes, throwing knives. These are cool. These are good for certain classes. Arrows, I'm not going to be doing any of that with this class. Most of the time you get like idols or things of that sort for your casters that take up those slots, and then you don't ever want to have your ranged attack on, otherwise you'll throw it by mistake and lose it. That's just a nightmare because a lot of those are incredibly hard to get. Like with my my cleric, he had the same thing. He had a whole bunch of things for like his ammo that was added all these stats, but you never wanted to use them. but they were usable. I think they did that on purpose just to mess with people. So I never even put that bar on because I was so worried that I'd push it by mistake or lag would happen and it would get clicked on. This is how I got in. Oh, it's up. Here we go. Let's go back. Nope, that's the wrong way again. Here we go. Again, guys, if you like these videos, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to go to a certain zone, if you want to see me explore a certain town, or even kill off some named creatures that you always kind of wondered how hard they were. What was the spawn time on them? For those of you who are not familiar with this game very much, spawn time refers to the amount of time it takes for the creature to repop. He would have, unlike in some of the later games, and I apologize if I compare it to those too much, but you know, that's probably what you guys are used to. The creature could take hours, sometimes days to repop, you know, to come back again, so you could kill him. Like dragons would have like a week timer on it. The Haddon guy, who dropped the Haddon earring so that you could have enduring breath, I believe had like a 9 or 10-hour timer on it, and a lot of people would camp their ult there for the fact of they would time it and they would know when they killed it last, and then camp their guy there and load up 10 hours later and see if he was up, kill him. He didn't always drop it. If he dropped it, then you'd have another one on you, which you could then sell for platinum. So somebody was always there, unfortunately. And so if you wanted to camp it yourself to save yourself money, that was just a very, very difficult camp to get into. But again, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a great weekend.